Would you like your home to be saddled with a heritage listing? If your answer is no, please listen in, because your second home, our church, is in line for one. As I alluded in my sermon, when we speak of heritage, we think in thousands of years, not decades. We celebrate people and events from thousands of years ago, and not from 10 years ago or 50 years ago. And we believe that the community who built this church are the custodians of the heritage, and not government bureaucrats ticking boxes. Now, the case for heritage listing of our church has been made strongly by local government officials who had various heritage consultants, and notably by a journalist in the Greek media who wrote a 5-page report. The officials of the local government did not step in this church, did not consult us. Most of these people have had zero contribution to the building of this church, the upkeep of this church, the running of this place. And in the case of the journalist, a Greek lawyer, I've been here 16 years, never seen him before. I didn't even know who he was. Took it upon himself, he's perfectly okay to do so, he's perfectly have the right to do so. He argued the case for, he made very valid points in terms of what government looks for heritage and what boxes are to be ticked in that regard. All well and good. I can't argue against most of the points he made, but there's a bigger picture, and then there's another side to the story. Once again, I haven't seen that person here in 16 years. We haven't seen a single dollar of contribution from that person. If I'm wrong, he can correct me. But it goes to show that there are people who are not even part of this who want to impose something on this. We went to the council. We wrote submissions. We spoke with the officials, and they're insisting. We managed to get them to create a public submissions request from the community, the general community, and we got this. Well, actually, we didn't get this. All the neighbours got this, but they didn't send this to the church itself. The church that they want a heritage list was not given the material that invites people to give their opinion and their submission. This was given to us by parishioners. So I hope you're getting the feel for what's going on here. So they're asking people to tell us how nice and important the church has been for you and your family. That's all sentimentality. We're talking about heritage here, and heritage being a much bigger story for us. Of course we're sentimental for our church, each and every one of us is. No one loves this church more than us, let alone government officials who haven't come here before. And secondly, as this newspaper article reveals, from March 29, Sydney Morning Herald, heritage listing is being used as a blunt instrument against property development in the area. So if you thought, oh, how nice, they're thinking about our heritage, there's something behind it. And what is behind it is that they've gone on a heritage blitz, heritage listing blitz in this area, trying to basically stifle development in the area. Now, the churches weren't the first target. Double Bay was the first target, buildings built in the 60s and 70s in Double Bay. Why? Because they didn't want development in Double Bay. We're collateral damage in that we were easy picking and we were easy sort of targets for heritage listing. Now, we're seeking your support in opposing the heritage listing on the grounds that we do not wish to be stifled by another layer of bureaucracy, having to seek permission to do anything to the building. Even the colour of the paint will be subject to expert consultation. Like we don't know what colour we want to paint the walls. We want the freedom to take care of our church as we have to this point and as we see fit. This is what I presented at the council. We believe that we are on a growth trajectory. In other words, we're focused on growing the church and have a vision of developing our church's property to facilitate that growth. Most of you know that we have an existing DA, which was approved in 2011 by Woollahra Council itself, and which precluded the imposition of a heritage listing upon the other older buildings on our property. Even back then, we had this issue, but we were able to prevail against Woollahra Council on this. In the properties that way, we have a church from the 1920s, a hall from the 1920s, and a rectory from the 1920s. And around 2011, 2012, we were forced to go to the Land and Environment Court against Woollahra Council, and we won. And obviously we don't want to go down that path again. We would rather maintain a good relationship with our local government, and the good relationship entails understanding, consultation, and not unilateral imposition. So that's the best case scenario. We're here to grow, we're here to make this better, we're here to improve the church. Have a look around. Do you like our windows? They're not the original windows, they're new, pretty much brand new. These have been installed in the last 10 years. The one up the top was installed 2 years ago. The ones in the office were installed this year, last year. They're all brand new. They're not the original features. The floors, we didn't have these floors originally. We had a vinyl floor. We want to improve it. We want to be able to constantly improve. Iconography is the other one. We didn't have these icons originally. They had to be approved, installed by the older priest, the priest before me, Father Miltiadis, together with the board of the time. No one argued that's against our heritage, it's not the original feature of the church, we shouldn't have icons. Future generations after me, after you, may want to put more iconography in the church. That's part of our heritage as Orthodox Christians. What's going to happen? Some heritage person in some office saying, that's not part of the original church, you can't do it. So in terms of the best case scenario, we're here to grow. The council referenced the Church of St. John at Parramatta. And we had to explain to the council that St. John's Church in Parramatta, due to demographic change, was able to sell the building and move to a larger property where they're going to build a new church. That's perfectly okay for us Orthodox Christians. And they are now thriving because of the move. If a heritage listing had been in place for St. John at Parramatta, that community would have been stuck. They would have stagnated and gone extinct. And obviously we don't want that to be our fate. According to our faith and practice, the church is more than bricks and mortar. It is the space that provides the means for a community of people, that's us, gathering to express our beliefs and way of life. The space can organically evolve with time. As you can see, many of you have gone to Greece and seen churches 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old. They've evolved. If something becomes old, it gets replaced. You don't just freeze something like a fossil. The church can have the addition of new items and elements, the removal of old ones. Iconographic art can be added, and new fixtures can replace old fixtures. In the worst case scenario, and we're not looking at this, but anything can happen. I mean, look at the Anglican Church 2 doors up. No one thought, the Anglicans of that time, none of them would have thought that they would have closed down. But if demographic decline were to take place in the future, and the sale of this property became a prerequisite for establishment of a new church in a more favourable area, then it is mandatory, according to our canon law, that the building be deconsecrated properly. What does deconsecration mean? It means that all contents inside should be removed, icons, all the relics, the whole altar should move. We'd have to dig up the altar and bring out the relics and move it to the next place. The various icons and vessels that we use will come with us. The council actually wants to also heritage list the interiors and the contents, which is unthinkable for us. And there's no way that we in our faith, culture and heritage would accept that this church be repurposed. We don't want it to turn into another business, we don't want it to turn into a restaurant, we don't want it to turn into a residence. It would actually offend our community's beliefs and sensitivities if such self-determination were taken away from us and deprived of us by a unilateral local government decision. When I read this in the council, one of the councillors quickly Googled on her smartphone and typed in, conversion of Greek church, so she can catch me out and say, well, here's another example of Greek churches being converted to another use. And what she did when she had her turn, I can see that Greek churches have been converted before. Seems to be okay in other cases. And I said, are you referring to the conversion of Greek churches into mosques in Turkey or in the Ottoman Empire? I said, do you understand that this is an act of oppression and that your council, which prides itself as respecting all cultures, is not doing this at this time? Because you need to consider what we wish and what we want. And if you're using the example of the Turkish government, which imposes the conversion of churches into mosques, both in the past and in the present, thank you very much, it's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here as a society. She got really upset. The Heritage Study officers indicate in their report that they did not enter the building once. I myself was not consulted. Had this happened, I would have had the opportunity to demonstrate that the building has had substantial modifications and alterations throughout its existence, through which many of the original features have been changed and many more changes can happen if we wish. And I finished with, as a community, our priority is growth. That means tending to and investing in our people. Bricks and mortar are the means to serving that end and not the end in itself. If we want to be able to move adaptively into the future, we want to do that without any hindrance a heritage listing would impose. And we're still in tug of war with the council, but I need your help now. As you exit the church, there is a petition out the front. Those of you who don't have the wherewithal to use devices and to sign the petition online can do that in physical format. And for those who are watching online, go straight into the description, which is just under the video, and click the link to the petition and type in your name. If you wish to add a comment, a few people have added some really good, strong comments, and we thank you for that as well. That would also help. I thank you for your understanding and thank you for your support. Obviously, if you don't agree with me, that's also perfectly okay. You don't have to sign the petition. Don't feel obliged or forced.